Time now for one full hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's the Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts and Hercules Tires. Now, here are your hosts, Marty Hough and 10-time NHRA winner, Doug Herbert.
You're listening to The Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for being here for our 1 hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. The Winter Nationals are on the way, and we'll talk everything John Force Racing with its president, Robert Hight. Defending Winter Nationals Funny Car winner, Matt Hagan, will join us, and we'll get a preview of the 2016 drag racing season from the NHRA's Terry Blount. We're in the beams and set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast, around the world, this is The Straight Line on MRN.com. We're also streaming on MRN's YouTube channel. And also, we want to thank all the people for listening in on WCGO 1590 AM in Chicago, taking on the Straight Line for this season. And we're very proud to be in the Chicagoland area. Thanks for being with us, along with 4-time IHRA Top Fuel champion, 10-time NHRA National Event winner, Doug Herbert. I'm Marty Hough. Busy off-season for you. First of all, thanks for being back with us. Another season of the Straight Line. Thanks for being back with us.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited. I love coming in here and doing this. We get to talk to a bunch of friends and talk about drag racing, which we love. And, of course, hanging out with you, Marty.
Well, that's the best part of the deal.
There you go.
And we've known each other for quite a while now, over the last couple of years in just doing this show. But I think this off-season was probably the busiest one for you that I can remember. A really cool trip to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, a disappointing end to the Super Bowl. But also having the opportunity to go to the Barrett-Jackson auction, do a brakes class out there, make a lot of money. First of all, just kind of tell us what that whole scene is like.
Well, it was super. We went to Scottsdale, to the Barrett-Jackson, and we got a chance to have a brake school at Barrett-Jackson. For the viewers, listeners that don't know what brakes is, putOnTheBrakes.org. It's a teenage driving program. We teach teenagers how to avoid accidents, how to avoid crashes, how to be a little bit safer and more responsible driving on the street. Started that a few years ago after my boys were in a car accident. So that's how that got going. But anyways, we did the Barrett-Jackson thing. Had a super school out there in Scottsdale. Was just a lot of fun. Had great participation. The Barrett-Jackson people were really, really good to work with. Yeah. And then the following week, we took the Brakes Top Field Dragster and it
auctioned it
donated
off.
it donated to the Brakes charity, which is, it's 501c3. It's a charity.
Sure.
We took the dragster out to Barrett-Jackson and auctioned the car off with the money going to the charity. And the guys that bought the car donated it back to the charity, and we got to sell it again. So raised a bunch of money. It's going to help us put on some schools this year and do some great things. So just really a lot of fun. It's a good, it's a really feel-good thing. I think the Barrett-Jackson guys were very excited. Craig Jackson came up to me and goes, hey, I want to get my kid into brakes. He's got a 17-year-old son. I want to get him into brakes.
Yeah.
I didn't know all that much about it before you guys came out here, and so he was pretty excited. So now we're working on a car to take back to Barrett-Jackson next year.
Nice.
For anyone that has never been to Barrett-Jackson, I had never been. I'd heard about it a million times, watched it on TV and all that. It is awesome. I mean, they have it's actually a bigger event than an NHRA national event or NASCAR race or whatever. There's probably 3,000 cars there, like show car quality cars.
Yeah,
they're running through the auction like crazy.
Yeah,
it's a really neat deal. And I mean, you see, Jay Leno. I mean, you see everybody there. Burt Reynolds. I mean, everybody goes there. It's a big deal.
Yeah,
and it was just a lot of fun. So I would say if you're a car enthusiast, which you probably are if you're watching this show,
no doubt,
going to Barrett-Jackson, whether it's the one in Scottsdale or I know they've got Vegas, Palm Beach. They've got one even in the Northeast this year up there in New York or New Jersey somewhere. So check it out. It's a pretty neat thing, and they were real good supporters of the Brakes charity.
And had an opportunity to get a lot of FaceTime on TV, which is never a bad thing.
That's never a bad thing either. That's right, yeah. And just building awareness for the charity, doing good things.
Yeah.
we spend the money on putting on programs and teaching teenagers how to not crash their cars. So it was really, really fun.
And for those of you that are maybe new to the program and just tuning in for the first time or listening to it on the radio, of course, the Brakes Foundation, as Doug said, in memory of your two boys that were lost in a car accident, and you're going to have some schools coming up here, not in the too distant future. I mean, what are some of the places that you're going early on in the year, mainly during the springtime?
We're going to be really busy this year. We've actually got about 40 weekends of training all across the country. So we've got stuff in last weekend we were in Raleigh, North Carolina. We've got about 10 weekends in Concord, North Carolina. We've got San Francisco Bay Area. We're going to Pomona, Los Angeles in a couple weeks. We've got Orlando, Florida coming up. We've got Atlanta, Georgia coming up. We've got a school in conjunction with Clay Milliken over in Memphis.
Yeah,
we've got a school in conjunction with Alan Johnson up in Tennessee, in Greenville, Tennessee. So we've got just some neat things going on all around the country. We're going to Seattle for the first time this year in the Great Northwest, your hometown area up there. Going back to Denver, Englishtown, back to New England, to up there to Epping again. So just so many things. It's really growing. My goal is to train every teenager. That's the goal. And that's a pretty big goal. I don't know if we can do that, but that's what we want to do.
Putonthebrakes.org for more information. We were just talking about Barrett-Jackson and Scottsdale, not too far from there. Wild Horse Pass was the home for spring training for more or less this year for nitro cars and for pro stock cars. And they got out of the box really fast. Funny cars were making headlines at the end of the year last year, breaking records all over the place.
Almost every weekend.
Almost every weekend. Tommy Johnson goes down to Phoenix at Wild Horse Pass, runs a speed that would have been equivalent or better than
the national records
the
can't
national
be set
record
at a test session.
Correct.
Or whatever. It's got to be set at a race. But, yeah, like you say, Tommy Johnson, a lot of guys ran really, really good down there. So I've got a feeling going into Pomona, a lot of the things that they learned towards the end of last year, they've probably enhanced them and worked on them a little bit more this year.
Right.
There's going to be some really, really good performances at Pomona, better, I'm sure, than in qualifying or in testing. So it usually seems like Friday there was a little bit of messing around, learning the track because, Pomona sits there all winter. Nobody races on that track. And then usually by Saturday afternoon or Sunday, it's coming around pretty good. So there's going to be – I wouldn't be surprised to see record-setting performances, probably, maybe even in all three pro categories out there.
This is something you've done quite a bit, the preseason testing. What are teams trying to accomplish during that preseason? Is it more of a getting the cobwebs out, or is it more of a, hey, we've got a race coming up in a couple of weeks. This is basically our first race, so to speak, and try to put it under race conditions?
I think there's a lot of things that happen in the preseason testing. Generally, getting the cobwebs out is not really far off because most of the teams have at least a couple new crew members. Yeah. So they're trying things out there. They've also got, to get those guys experience working on the car, they've got to be quick. They've got to turn them around quick. Especially important this year, as we're going to find out talking with Terry Blount here in a little while with the live television. So that's going to be a big deal. But also new parts. There's new parts, new pieces, new clutch disc packages, all these different things that most teams go into the beginning of the year with. So that testing in Phoenix is a little bit of a, work a couple bugs out, try and figure out where they are so that when they go to Pomona, it's that same thing. You got to go down the track that first run. The first run of the year at Pomona, go down the track, get a baseline, and most races, it's just that race that is based on that first run at Pomona. Right. The first race kind of sets off your tone for the whole season. You go to Pomona and run good at the Winter Nationals, it helps you it just revs everybody up and get you through the year, really.
Because if you don't, then the doubt sets in the back of your mind that, oh boy, if we got our poop in a group here. And
you want to be in the top 10.
Yeah.
And so leaving Pomona in the top 10 is a big deal. but just having that momentum, it's no different than any other team sport, really. You need that momentum. So you leave Pomona, you've got momentum. You go to Phoenix, you go to Gainesville, and I think the momentum that you carry through Pomona, that helps for, maybe not the whole year. That might be exaggerating a little bit, but it gets you off on the right foot.
No question about that. Coming up on the program, we will talk to the defending funny car winner of the Winter Nationals. Matt Hagan will join us. Terry Blount, the Vice President of Public Relations and Communications for the NHRA, will join us. And right around the corner, we will talk to John Force Racing's Robert Hight after this.
This is The Straight Line. More right after this.
Race fans, you know there's nothing like the power, excitement, and sounds of NASCAR. Ever wonder what it would be like to strap yourself in the seat of an authentic NASCAR race car? You can do it at the Richard Petty Driving Experience. Ride along or drive yourself at one of 15 tracks nationwide. Call 1-800-237-3889 or visit online at drivepetty.com. Richard Petty Driving Experience. It's authentic NASCAR entertainment. Call 1-800-237-3889 or visit drivepetty.com to reserve your experience.
Miss any of MRN's programs? Find the archives and podcasts of all MRN's original programming in the Media Center on MRN.com, or you can subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. Listen to, download, or subscribe to MRN Motorsports Monday, Winged Nation, The Straight Line, NASCAR Coast to Coast, Fast Food, Throwback Thursday, NASCAR Live, MRN 360, Pod Tracks, MRN Tailspin, NASCAR Today, and Ned Jarrett's World of Racing. MRN programs available on demand.
Victory Junction was young race driver Adam Petty's dream. He worked toward building a camp where children with serious medical conditions could concentrate on fun and not their illness or disease. When he died tragically, his family and friends around NASCAR made sure that dream came true. Today, Victory Junction is a camp that provides fun, life-changing experiences to children dealing with illnesses and disabilities, all at no cost to the camper. Help us serve more children by visiting victoryjunction.org.
Listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Lots of change in the offseason and no more changes, no bigger changes in the offseason than over at John Force Racing. And to give us all the details on that, what happened during off-season testing, the driver of the Auto Club Chevrolet Camaro SS Funny Car for John Force Racing, Robert Hight joins us. Robert, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. How are you?
Great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, how did testing go? You guys obviously have a lot of new things going on for this year. Tell us a little bit about how preseason's going, Robert.
Well, I think it was. I think we all had career bests. And the funny cars especially, at the end of last year, we're 400 or 500 off from, the best cars. And I think we narrowed that gap up. I ran a 388 and TJ ran 387. So we're right there. I ran 329 miles an hour. Conley in a dragster was the only one to run faster. So I think that all the work we did and the focus we had over the off season really going to help our funny cars.
So this whole at the end of the last year, I think it was because we had you on and we kind of talked about it a little bit that I think the philosophy was just, hey, let's go A to B and let's get what we need to do done at the end of last season. I think that pretty much that strategy has been tossed out the window, Robert, with a 388 at 329.
Yeah, definitely. We went into testing and we really looked all winter at where we were missing it. And truthfully, it was the first 100 feet. Those other guys would put big numbers in the first 60 feet to 100 feet. And then we actually could kind of maintain. But once you give that away, you can never get it back. Yeah. So we went in there to testing, and our cars were flying early, but we'd have troubles at a second. But we didn't lose focus. We kept with the game plan, and we figured out how to get it through that 1 second range by still running really good early and running quick. And proud of Mike Neff for really sticking to his guns and making this happen. And by the time we were done, boy, we were putting up some big numbers.
Wow, that is cool. Well, so the funny cars are neat, but I like talking about dragsters. So tell us a little bit about AJ coming on board with JFR this year, and the hope that you guys obviously have for Brittany. I mean, it's hard to go wrong having Alan Johnson helping turn some screws.
Exactly. It was exciting that we had the opportunity to get him. Todd Smith did a great job for us, and but when the opportunity came to get Alan Johnson, we had to jump on that. And what was amazing to me is to just watch how easy he makes this look. We've been 3 years in the dragster, and it's kind of struggled. No consistency, and he takes a car that, with a canopy and a different weight driver that kind of an unknown, right? And he just goes out there, and that thing goes by the Christmas tree every single run. Other cars were throwing up, smoking, shaking, and he just made it look so easy. I mean, running 372 was just, it was like it was nothing. And, he has a game plan. He talks to you every day about his game plan. He sticks with it. And like he said, he says, we're not here to run 360s yet. We're here to get Brittany comfortable, get her down the track, and, I mean, it's still competitive at that. And he says, we get a few runs under our belt, then we'll start getting after this thing and then really putting some numbers out there. But I really believe he's also going to help our funny cars because that guy is sharp. Del Worsham run a lot of his parts in his funny car last year. You saw what that did. And Mike Neff, Alan Johnson, they're really good friends. So I think this is a plus for the whole team.
Yep.
How big of an issue was it, or was it an issue at all, knowing that Alan had already set up an alliance with Steve Torrance and is going to be helping him as well as you guys? Was that a part of the strategy, or did you have to work through that?
No, that was kind of part of the strategy. Steve Torrance, they're a great family. They rent from us. They right there in our buildings in Brownsburg. Great group of guys. And, it's hard to go out there and win a championship, even win races on your own when you're just a single-car team. So to be able to go out there and share data and work together, I think it's only a positive. The multi-car teams are here to stay. So I think to be able to race with them and beat them, you've got to join them.
Yeah, well, that's pretty neat to develop an extra alliance there, too. You've got that already, obviously, with the funny cars. Force was first to do that years ago, so now having something with the dragsters is pretty neat. How about all your sponsors, your good stuff coming back with Peak and Traxxas and Chevrolet and Monster? Everybody's good for this year? You guys are just building on everything?
Everybody's good. The money increased this year. Peak stepped up and bought the whole year on John's car. So,
nice.
We weren't so focused this winter on, trying to get funding. We were focused on getting our cars more competitive, and I really believe that's going to show. It showed in last week in testing. But, I'm very fortunate. I've got the Auto Club, and we're signed up for 5 years. That's a really, really big deal. And, I'd like nothing more to, go out here and win for them right here in their hometown this weekend.
Yeah, nothing like a little bit of pressure at your hometown track, but you guys always do good there. Force has done good there for years, and like you say, it's probably 10 miles from your shop out there, so that's a pretty good place to race, right?
It is. It's exciting. We love coming to Pomona. We're out here at the track today and rolling in the gate. You drive down the street that runs horizontal with the racetrack. There's so much excitement about the Winter Nationals, and now on Friday when you pull under that tower to run, I mean, it brings, chills to your spine. It's pretty cool that we're back out here racing. Tell you what, there's a lot of announcements, a lot of new things over the winter, a lot of positive things. I think our new TV package is going to be better. So I think just a lot of positives over the winter, more than I've seen since I've been driving.
Yeah.
That was going to be one of the things that we were going to ask a lot of the people today, is that it's kind of a double-edged sword. Fox has come out and said, hey, we're going to do a whole lot more live television, which is great for the sport. It's great for the fans. But, man, the teams have to be on point to be able to tear those cars down, get them back up to the track and to the race, up to the start line on time, because obviously when you're talking about live television, everybody needs to be on time. So how much has this played into your off-season strategy, knowing that there's going to be a whole lot more live television this year?
Well, we definitely addressed it. We added a man to each team. I'm very fortunate that I've got the same team now for 3 straight years. So it's not like, my guys are new to this. They know what to do. but we added a man to each team just to help out. And trust me, I'll get in there and help if I have to. We're not going to mess around. We're going to get up there and we're going to race.
We know how competitive you guys are, and obviously how competitive Force is. Tell us a little bit about how pumped up you guys are in the shop, and then a little bit about Coyle coming back. I just read about that the other day, too. That's pretty cool.
Yes, everybody's got a good attitude. Mike Neff, he kind of leads the teams, and we all know what his demeanor is. He's kind of laid back, and, he doesn't like any negativity. He wants positive. He wants everybody to show up to the track every day being positive. And, when you can do that, pull together, you're going to have more success. But, it's exciting. We got John and Austin have some lunches and talked. And, once you get Coyle kind of talking and get him interested, he's forgot more than probably most people will ever know about a fuel engine.
Right.
And, he's got some ideas how to make us quicker, especially when he saw the big jumps Funny Car took at the end of last year. That kind of perked his ears up a little bit. And he's got some ideas, and we're definitely going to implement them. We'd be stupid not to. And he's a great guy to bounce ideas off.
Yeah.
Robert, was this move more of a strategical to bring Austin Coyle back into the fold, or was it more about, hey, we just need some good juju? Let's bring Austin Coyle back, or let's at least talk to him about this.
I think it had to do with the later, having some good karma and that. John has not been happy at all, since Austin left. I've always stayed in contact with Austin, go to lunch with him here and there, and you hear him talk about John, and you hear John talk about him, and it was just like, we got to get these guys together and start talking. And boy, once they did, it was like, they never left each other.
Yeah, well, and that's good. And like you said, Mike Neff, he's about the coolest guy that there is in the pit area, and obviously smart, understands about being in the driver's seat, and what a neat team you guys have put together there too.
Yeah, we're hoping, we can, Austin's not going to travel to a lot of races, but we're hoping to get him out to a few test sessions this year, and he might even show up out here at Pomona.
And as you mentioned, being there at Pomona, Doug talks about this a lot. And whenever you go to the hometown track, it's always kind of a cool deal because you got your family and your friends and a lot of people that there. But also those hometown tracks can be a little bit of a pain in the butt because everybody wants free tickets. They want a part of your time. They want this. They want that. It's a distraction. How do you see?
You guys get a bunch of free tickets, right?
Yeah, no, we're probably going to be writing checks for tickets this first race because a lot of friends and family. But, there is a lot of distractions, but I think they're good distractions. Having the auto club here, I mean, that's right. All the people will be out there. And I always try to take that and turn it into a positive. It's like, hey, let's show these guys what they're paying for, and let's do a good job for them instead of just the pressure of trying to make them happy. Just let's do what we know how to do and make these guys happy.
Three-time winner at the Winter Nationals. What is it about this race that you particularly like?
The beginning of the year, you get to see everybody's new stuff, new designs, new uniforms. It's 3 months is a long time to be away from all your friends, and just to be back at it is exciting for me. But this racetrack is a lot of history here, and I don't know. It's different. I remember I used to come to this race as a fan, and just could not wait for the Winter Nationals. So now I'm getting to race and drive a funny car. Pretty cool. That
is pretty cool. Well, hey, looking forward to seeing you out there, Robert, this weekend. Do good. We wish your team the best, and of course, being there at your hometown track, and Force is going to be pumped up, and I'm sure give everybody a little bit of excitement as always. So good luck this weekend, Robert. Good luck with all the John Force teams, and hopefully you guys are going to knock them dead.
All right, thank you, guys, and hopefully we'll be talking a lot more this year than we did last.
Absolutely. President of John Force Racing and driver of the Auto Club Chevrolet Camaro Funny Car for John Force Racing, that is Robert Hight. And when we return, we'll get a preview of the 2016 NHRA season from the sanctioning body itself. Terry Blount will join us next.
You're listening to The Straight Line. More right after this.
Motor Racing Network has always been your source for motorsports coverage when you couldn't be at the track. Now, MRN is even more accessible with the brand new MRN app, available on your iPhone or Android device right now. This free app delivers all the latest motorsports news and schedules, locates nearby MRN stations, streams your favorite programs, and lets you interact with the MRN team on social media. Search MRN in the App Store or on Google Play. It's the Motor Racing Network at your fingertips, and it's available right now.
NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert here to talk about safe driving. In early 2008, my two sons were killed in a car accident that was caused by speed and inexperience. After the accident, I learned that over 6,000 teenagers each year are killed in car accidents, so I formed a nonprofit organization called Brakes. Brakes stands for Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe. Please visit our website at putonthebrakes.org to learn more about responsible driving and what you can do to keep our roads safe.
Tickets are moving fast for the Daytona 500 on Sunday, February 21st, and it's your one chance to be a part of the biggest race in a generation. The all-new Daytona is 31 million pounds of steel, forged by racing's greatest legends in the heat of battle for the most coveted trophy in NASCAR, the 2016 Daytona 500. Now, forever. Seats at the all-new Daytona will sell out. Guarantee yours now at 1-800-PIT-SHOP or Daytona500.com.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to Robert Hight for joining us on The Straight Line, our season opening show, and thanks for being here with us and joining us right now on the telephone line in Pomona right now as we speak is the Vice President of Communications and Public Relations for the National Hot Rod Association. Terry Blount joins us. Terry, thank you so much for joining us. We know it's a really busy time for you, and we appreciate your time.
Oh, that's all good. I really appreciate being on. I think Robert and I could have just transferred phones. I was standing right next to him, so it's all good. It's a big day for us for Media Day, but we really appreciate the time on the show.
Well, it's an exciting time at the NHRA with all of the things that are going on at Pomona, not only this weekend, but with the Fox TV and just all the new rules and Pro Stock. There's got to be a really good feeling and excitement going on there right now. I think Peter Clifford has brought in stuff, and obviously just, he's trying to make some changes and bring NHRA back to the luster and where it maybe once was.
Well, Doug, we really feel like this is a transformative year for the NHRA. We have a theme this year that we're putting on all our media guides, all the publications we send out that's called Shifting Gears into a New Era. And we're not just saying that. We mean it. And we're saying that because we want people to say, well, what do you mean? Why are you? And we want people to know that we're different. We're bigger. We're better than ever before, and we're going to prove it to you. And it really starts with the Fox television deal. I can't tell you what a difference this is going to be for us. I mean, this really was a big factor in me deciding to leave ESPN and come to the NHRA, is because I could see the future was going to be incredibly bright with this new television deal. 17 live races. Look, guys, I mean, we knew to be a legitimate major league sport, you have to be live. Yeah. In this era of instantaneous information, where everybody's on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and all the young people are texting, and everything is known from the time it happens within seconds, we had to be live. And to be able to have 17 races live this year, including 4 on the Fox network, which has never happened in the history of the NHRA. Yes, we used to be on Wide World of Sports years ago. That was never live. To be live on network television is going to bring so many more eyeballs to our sport. And the telecast and the way it's presented is going to be so dramatically different that I think it's going to be a gigantic wow factor for people. And we're excited to kick it off this weekend.
Terry, I've seen more during this offseason on the sport and from the sanctioning body than I've seen in the last 5 years combined during the offseason. Obviously, Fox has a part of that, but obviously you and your department and the people at the NHRA has made a concerted effort to make sure that we are out there during the offseason so people don't forget about us.
It's not business as usual.
Yeah, that is exactly right.
We're certainly trying to do that. I mean, look, guys, I was on the other side for over 30 years, and I think in covering the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball and motorsports for 20 years. And I think over that period of time, I hope that I've learned a little bit about what reporters and broadcasters want and need. And I think two things what they want is they want to know why they should cover you. Give them a real reason. And number two, they want you to be able to help them and make it as easy for them as possible. And so in doing that, we wanted to do as much as we could during the off season. One of the things was going to Charlotte for the NASCAR Media Tour. We had a great night there with John Force, Antron Brown, our new broadcaster, Tony Pedregon, the two-time Funny Car champion. And we had a huge turnout there, and I think it was really well received. And we just want people to know that, look, you need to watch us this year because this is not going to be the same old thing. You know, we want people to understand how it's going to be different. But at the same time, we want to emphasize what a great product this is. You know, we have all the metrics, statistical information to prove that we really are the number 2 motorsport in the United States to NASCAR by any statistical metric you want to use to measure. That is true. But we've never kind of been covered that way. So we're trying to get that message out and show people, and we're trying to do it in a manner to say, we want you here, we care about your coverage, and we want you here to help us because we think you're going to enjoy it. You know, Doug, you know this. I've never brought anyone to an NHRA event live for the first time that didn't go, oh, my gosh. I've never seen anything like that. Yeah. It just, you know, you can't really get the total feel for that on television. You can't get the feel for the power, the sound, 11,000 horsepower, the ground shaking. But when they're here and they see it, it's transformative for people. They go, wow, I had no idea. And so if we can get more people out here, we can do that. And we think the way we're presenting the telecast is going to help them understand that. But we're also doing a lot more with the drivers to try and make them more personal to people. You know, part of going to this change is we want to make our drivers stars, all of them. They all have so many great stories. And we're taking the approach kind of like they do in the Olympics where they do these up-close and personal pieces because you have all these athletes, whether they be skiers or figure skaters or water polo players or whatever, that the public doesn't know who they are. So they do these little vignettes on them to say, hey, this is who they are and this is why you should care. Well, that's what we're doing. We're going to do that with our drivers on the telecast. This is who they are, and this is why you should care, and this is why you should be their fan. And we hope it resonates with people, and we want to make our drivers stars, and we're trying to do that.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Terry, is getting the people, you know, the excitement on TV is better once you're familiar with the races, right? And going there and like you say, know the drivers and know a little bit of the story. But man, having them there at the track, getting those big crowds back to Pomona and Gainesville and all these places, man, that is going to be the key, and probably also to the media too when they're going to follow up and
we're really
show
trying to do that. We're getting a lot of immediate attention just in the off season and this week. You know, we caught a huge break this week, by the way, guys. All of the professional Los Angeles teams are out of town this week.
Really? Wow.
So we caught a huge break.
Yeah.
There. We were really concerned about racing on Valentine's Day. We were thinking, I can see this guy telling his girlfriend, "Hey, let's go to the drag races for Valentine's Day." But we think it's really going to help us, at least with media coverage, because they're all out of town.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of media attention this week that we wouldn't normally get, and I think that will help us. But the main thing is we just want people to experience what it is, and then when they do watch on television, they'll be more interested because they'll know the drivers.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing we're doing is all this. You know, we're going to have a lot of downtime being live in between rounds. And when we're doing that, we're going to be talking to drivers. We're going to talk live to them as they're working on the cars in the pits. We're going to show people that you can stand right next to the car as they're working on it. Everything that goes on in the midway, we're going to let people know that you don't just come out here and sit in the stands for 5 hours. You come out here, you stand among the teams. You know, we're the really only motorsport left where you literally can still stand 10 feet from the teams working and the drivers, and they'll come out and greet you in between rounds.
Yeah.
And we're going to show that. So we're trying real hard to show things that weren't shown in the past. Look, I worked at ESPN for 10 years, and I love ESPN. They were great to me. And they did a fantastic job of showing what happened on the racetrack. But they didn't really tell the backstory. They didn't tell the stories of who the drivers are and why they're interesting. And that's where it's going to be different this year. That's what we're going to do.
And some of the leverage that you have, being with the National Hot Rod Association and being associated with the Coke brand and specifically with their Mellow Yellow brand, is the My NHRA campaign. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
That just fell in our laps, guys. We're so thrilled about that. Mellow Yellow went to a new logo this year that's MY. It's a big yellow MY. And so as part of that, we have the NHRA new NHRA logo. By the way, anybody who hasn't seen it, we think it's really a cool new logo, a very hip and trendy looking logo. Anyway, as part of that, the My Mellow Yellow thing and My NHRA. So we thought we could play off that and say, why don't we say, this is My NHRA, and ask drivers and fans, blah, 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 that's My NHRA. Or My NHRA is John Force in a funny car at 320 miles an hour. Or My NHRA is Antron Brown winning 2 championships. Or ask the drivers what their NHRA is. And so we're playing off the whole My NHRA theme with the new Mellow Yellow logo. Coke is all for it. They're hugely in favor of it. They've been a gigantic help to us and fully behind all the new things we're trying to do. And by the way, so is Fox. They couldn't have been better in what they've done to start the season. They're doing a lot of cross promotion things with us. Just last weekend, we had Antron Brown and Alexis DeJoria on the Supercross telecast from Phoenix. So they've been great to us. But we're really going to try and play a little bit off the My NHRA thing and have drivers say, tell us what your NHRA is. My NHRA is blah. And we're going to do that with fans. And we're actually may run a little contest saying, what's your NHRA? And whoever we'd like the answer the most, maybe they get to come to a race for free or meet, whoever, John Force or Antron Brown or whoever they want. So we're going to do as much as we can to play off that, our new logo, and that's part of our theme.
Well, that is awesome. Well, I love the NHRA. You know that, and it sounds like it's a really exciting time over there. So we are happy to have you on the show. We're looking forward to the great things at Pomona, and really appreciate the NHRA support with brakes and what we're doing with the teenagers. And that's one of our big messages is take it to the track. And we bring a lot of people out to Pomona and the other tracks and encourage them to come back and watch the races. It's a super
Doug,
thing.
you mean so much to us. I mean, that brakes program is so important to this country and to the young drivers of this country. I had 2 teenagers that are now young adults, and I know they got in several wrecks when they were teenagers.
Oh, no.
And I so wish they had this program then for my teenagers, and it's so meaningful to us. The NHRA is so much about safety. That's why it was founded.
Yep.
And to have your support in your program means a lot to us, and we really appreciate it.
Man, thank you, Terry.
Terry, thank you so much for your time. I know, like we said, your time is very valuable this weekend trying to get the 2016 season off the ground. So we appreciate your support, and thank you so much for your time. And good luck this weekend at the Circle K Winter Nationals.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Terry Blount, the Communications and Public Relations Vice President of the National Hot Rod Association. When we return, we will talk to the defending funny car champion of the Winter Nationals, Matt Hagan, will join us next.
This is The Straight Line. More right after this.
Hi, this is NASCAR Live's Eli Gold. For over 30 years, you've been asking questions to your favorite drivers every Tuesday night. Well, you don't have to wait for Tuesday any longer. Call Motor Racing Network's brand new fan hotline at 844-4ASK-MRN to leave a question or comment for your favorites.
The NFL plays regular season games at Wembley in London. So what are your thoughts about how NASCAR could expand internationally?
Be a part of the voice of NASCAR. Call 844-4ASK-MRN.
Looking for a great spot for an affordable beach vacation, a family getaway, or the perfect romantic retreat but just can't find the time? Let the Plaza Resort and Spa help. A vacation on the world's most famous beach is sure to help you reconnect with the ones you love. You will discover the grand tradition of hospitality and service at this sparkling Daytona Beach Hotel, located directly on the beach. A Plaza Resort and Spa weekend escape is the ultimate in relaxation, with world-class massages, facials, body wraps, and more at the Plaza's very own Ocean Waters Spa. She'll love you for giving her such a fantastic weekend getaway. The Plaza Resort and Spa, located at 600 North Atlantic Avenue in Daytona Beach, one of the area's premier hotels and the perfect choice for any type of getaway. Book online at plazaresortandspa.com or call 1-855-DB-PLAZA. That's 1-855-327-5292.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to Terry Blount for joining us on today's season opening Straight Line show. You have a question for either one of us? We come through your computer, we come through your phone. There's a lot of ways that you're listening to us. If you're in Chicago, you're listening on the radio to us. But you can also get a hold of us on the telephone. The Motor Racing Network's Fan Forum hotline. Call 844-4-ASK-MRN, as it's there on the screen, 444-427-5676. And if you've got a question for us that has anything to do with drag racing, lay it down on it's a recording, so you just lay your voice down on the recording. We get it. We'll play it back here on the Straight Line and as best as possible.
Well, if we don't know the answer, we'll find out the answer. I guarantee you we know someone that'll know the answer.
Exactly, and maybe that was something that we can bring up to a guest, or if you have a question for a guest, we can take that question to the guest if we know we're going to have these people on ahead of time. That was one of our problems this week, is that today is Media Day in Pomona. And most of the drivers right now are in a big airplane hangar somewhere in Southern California, where Fox has got all these curtains and dim lights and then bright lights. And as Terry mentioned, that they're doing these little vignettes and they're recording all these. So we started going through, hey, we want to talk to this driver and that driver and the other driver. Well, they're not going to be there. They're not going to be available because Fox has them. And I thought, well, that's a heck of a nice problem to have, right, is that the drivers are unavailable because they're being interviewed for huge TV broadcasts. A very exciting time right now for competitors.
Well, no doubt, like Terry was saying, there's so many neat things going on right now with the sport. So, I think it's long been considered, heck, when I moved to Charlotte 25 years ago, it was like NASCAR and drag racing was almost on the same level, and then all of a sudden they took a rocket into another atmosphere.
Yep.
But drag racing is very exciting, and the neat thing is, even now, going around, all the NASCAR guys and sports sport people in general follow drag racing because it's an exciting sport. If they've been to the track and they're familiar a little bit with what goes on, it's a lot of fun. I mean, drag racing is a great sport to watch in person, especially and hopefully with this new Fox TV, it'll be a great thing to watch on TV as well. But man, in person, there's nothing like 10,000 horsepower shaking the ground. I mean, this is incredible.
And as soon as you've gone to the track and you know a little bit about the sport and how it works, and you get your favorite drivers, then you can more easily follow it on television, knowing, hey, Antron Brown, my guy's coming up. He's coming up to the line, and he's got a big second-round match against Tony Schumacher. Man, this is going to be a doozy race here.
Right.
I got to be there. I got to watch this, and it's going to be live. It's not something that I can pull up on an app and watch and record it. It's something that I'm going to watch live.
Well, you and I have talked about it before. I think the live TV is just a big deal because, I mean, we can go on our phone, we can listen online to the broadcast. Yeah. I mean, we can find out, you can go on Drag Race Central, whatever. You can find out the stats or who won, but watching it live is, that makes it a little more important, I guess, is a little more relevant instead of watching old news or whatever.
Yeah, right.
If you already know what happens, you watch the show because there's neat things that happen, but when you can watch what is going on live, who's winning right that second, that's pretty cool. I think it's going to be big. And actually, here's a little trivia for you. The very first live NHRA broadcast was on TNN. 1992 was the final round at Phoenix. I raced Pat Austin in the final. My throttle linkage broke, and Pat beat me. And it probably would have been a pretty good race.
Yeah.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? The Panthers really wanted them to win the Super Bowl too. But, that's
that's another story. Yeah. But I did not know that.
Yeah.
And obviously the last quarter mile winner.
Last quarter mile winner was the car that we auctioned off a couple weeks ago at Barrett-Jackson. That car won the last quarter mile drag race. As some fans may or may not know, the drag races are now 1,000 feet. That happened a little bit in response. I would say mostly in response to Scott Coletta's accident at Englishtown in 2008. The cars are the tracks are old. Most of these tracks came into existence in the 50s and 60s, and the cars went 200 miles an hour, and they weighed 1,500 pounds or 1,200 pounds. Now they're going 330 miles an hour. They weigh 2,200 to 2,400 pounds. We need a little longer track. They need more room to shut down. And in some places like Pomona, Englishtown, they couldn't go anywhere. There's, the city is built up around the track, so you can't just make the track longer.
Right. And speaking of that, as a driver, when you show up to these tracks like Pomona, like Englishtown, that have shorter runoff areas, what are some of the things that you have in the back of your mind, knowing that, hey, there's not a whole lot of room between between the start or the finish line and the shutdown area, or is that something that even comes up in your mind?
I don't think it's much of a consideration. You go through the finish line and you get the parachutes out and you get on the brakes, and it doesn't matter where you are, because it's not like you're going 330 miles an hour and you want to take a look around. Wow, I wonder, this is fun. No, what you're thinking about is, I want to get this thing stopped.
Yeah.
Really.
Before you get to the sand
you want to get
trap.
the chutes out. You want to get on the brakes.
Yeah.
From the time you pull the chutes until until the chutes actually deploy and slow you down is about probably between a half a second to a second delay. So, there's enough time to pull the chutes, get on the brake, get the car kind of settled down a little bit, and plan on getting it stopped, because going 300 and something miles an hour, the end is coming up very fast. You don't want to be like Fred Flintstone and put your feet down. Whoa, we'll stop this thing. It doesn't work.
No. Here at the Motor Racing Network, our guys are ready, and some of them are heading out the front door just before we went on the air, heading to Daytona International Speedway. Speed Week's coming up, Daytona 500 next week. But the Daytona of drag racing is on the drag racing schedule at Pomona, at Auto Club Speedway of Pomona. When you pull into those gates, there is no doubt where you are when you head into Pomona. Just put that into terms. When you're running a team, when you're the driver and you show up at Pomona, this is no screwing around. This is a big race.
Pomona is big, and Pomona's always been big. It's one of my favorite tracks. That's where I went when I was a kid, hanging on the fence and watching Prudhomme and Garlitz and McEwen. And I mean, that is, man, that's it's a legendary historical place. One of my best wins probably was winning Pomona.
Yeah.
I mean, Pomona it's something. It's a special place, and there's so much history there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it, but it is a special place. I mean, you've got Indy, and everybody talks about Indy and the deal. You know what? I think Pomona, the first race of the year, everybody's excited. It's all new stuff. There's new paint on the cars. Yeah. There's just new. Everybody's revved up. Their uniforms are new and clean. That's the place I want to win. Not that you're not taking anything away from Indy, because Indy's big, but Pomona, man, that first race of the year.
Where it started.
And it sets off the tone for the year. You win Pomona, that momentum helps.
Yep, and just the history of the place, and knowing that you can put yourself among the drivers who have won at Pomona, the Doug Herberts, the Don Prudhommes, the Don Garlitz. I'm
honored to be on the same list as those guys. I mean, that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So super excited about it. I forgot to ask Terry about the TV schedule for this weekend. I know there's a lot of live broadcasts this weekend from Pomona, so maybe we can get that and put that up on MRN website, or I'll tweet it out as the weekend comes up.
Yep, and we'll work on that in the future, because it's a little bit different mindset, because you're not looking for 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock on Sunday. It's going to be there all the time. It's live, and depending on where they are in the country, West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, it could be somewhere different, and times are going to be different. So it's a different mindset for fans to be able to tune into broadcasts.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about Pro Stock. So the Pro Stock guys went out this past couple weeks ago for the first time testing with their new electronic fuel injection, the lower hood without the big mailbox on the hood. They look, I think they look good. The new cars look good. The aerodynamics is obviously going to be a lot better. I'm pretty excited. I don't think it's going to take them very long to figure that EFI out. EFI is pretty neat. You put your O2 sensor in the exhaust, and it can kind of find an optimum fuel mixture or whatever. I think that once the teams get into that, I think they're probably going to like it.
So as I understand it, and where they're running into, if they're running into any problems, the one that they have the most is that they have all this brand new engine combination, which is completely different. No more carburetors. It's electronic fuel injection, also with a rev limiter. But they're also working with the old gear ratios in gear boxes. So they're trying to set up something new to something old, and things they really haven't kind of meshed yet.
Well, they've got to get a combination down, so they've got a combination that they've had and they've been working on for years.
Right.
And now they've thrown a little bit of a wrench into it with the CFI and the rev limiter and whatever. I don't think it's going to take them very long to figure that out. Running on the dyno, figuring out what the cars want. I think that they're going to be able to figure that out pretty quickly, and it's going to be, nothing against carburetors. I mean, I've rebuilt my share of Holly, carburetors or AFB carburetors, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like, we don't wear blue suede shoes anymore either.
Yeah.
Carburetors are gone the way of the dodo bird and the dinosaur. So let's get into the 21st century, put electronic fuel injection on these cars, and let's go. And unfortunately, there's a cost that comes with it. I was talking with Jason Line and Greg Anderson up at the Stocks for Tot event that we do every year up in Mooresville.
Yep, back in December.
With the North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame and all the things that we do up there. It's a neat deal every year up in Mooresville. All the racers get together, not just drag racers. It's mostly like there's a couple drag racers, but it's mostly a NASCAR event. But it's
guys.
Bobby Allison and
sure.
And
everybody that wants to contribute and make a difference for
it's a neat deal. They donate a lot of money to local charities and help kids and stuff like that. So it's super neat. Don Miller does a great job up there. Any rate, I was back to the story here, talking with Greg Anderson and Jason Line up there, and they said it was expensive. Doing that changeover was a big deal, and hopefully that doesn't hurt the guys getting going. Like I'm afraid that it might. But hopefully what will happen is maybe the Fox TV deal will bring more value to the sponsorship so the teams can get back out there and get racing. I can tell you, I've hunted pretty hard for the past few years for sponsorship, and there's a difference between what it costs to sponsor the car and what it costs to run the car. And the problem is you've got to make it so that the cost to run the car is less than the value of sponsoring the car so that you can actually afford to do it if you're not going to dig in your own pocket and pay to run the car.
Right.
So hopefully what this Fox TV deal is going to do for the National Hot Rod Association is bring the value up so the teams can get the sponsors to get out there and race competitively and also to make the sport look good. And when you get the sponsors promoting the teams like Kenny Bernstein with Budweiser used to do and Larry Dixon with Miller and Snap-on with me, when they have when the value for the sponsorship is there, it's just good for everybody. It's good for their brands. It's good for the sport of NHRA. It's good for the media. It's just super. So hopefully we're seeing that come back again.
And a good example of the sponsorship, Alan Johnson, Pro Stock Alan Johnson, said, if I don't have a sponsor, I'm not going to do it. I'm not digging in my own pocket. I'm not going to do this. I've never done that before, and I'm not going to start now. Fortunately, he also said that he had a big sponsor in his pocket, and if they came through, this was going to be one of the biggest deals or probably the biggest deals.
He said it was the biggest deal that he'd ever put together.
And it actually came about. So we will see Alan Johnson at Pomona, and that's really good news with Marathon Oil.
Yep.
And they're not
back
only
in a Mopar, still in a Mopar, with his dad building the engines. And we talked to Alan a lot on the show because he's just a neat guy. But that his race team is a family race team. His dad built the engines. His dad's a crew chief, and they just do a super good job. Obviously, winning Pomona, the last race of last year, winning championships. Going to be fun to see them out there and keep it going this year.
Yeah, no doubt. But a big expense to make that switch over. Alan Johnson was a really good example of that, but he will be back this year, and we're looking forward to it. More on the Straight Line coming up.
You're listening to The Straight Line. More right after this. Looking to find the best place for all the latest NASCAR Sprint Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, K&N, and Modified Series news? MRN.com is the place to go. Your online home for NASCAR news, opinion, podcasts, videos, race schedules, results, and statistics. Award-winning motorsports writers keep you informed and up to date on all the latest breaking NASCAR news and in-depth stories and opinion. MRN.com, your online home for all the NASCAR information you're looking for.
Race cars are finally tuned for maximum performance. Freightliner trucks are too, taking into account all the factors that drive your profitability and lower your real cost of ownership. Efficient aerodynamic designs paired with the integrated Detroit powertrain maximizes fuel efficiency, uptime, quality, connectivity, and safety to give truckers peace of mind and a better return on investment. Find out how to lower your real cost of ownership at rco.freightlinertrucks.com. Donnie Schatz joining us.
This is Winged Nation with Steve Post and Kendra Jacobs.
The stat that just jumps off the page, 178 consecutive races without a DNF.
You know, now that it's something that you brought up, I'm sure it'll probably end that streak sooner than later. But those guys know the feel that I'm looking for in my race car, and they know that if I get that feel, that I'm going to be able to maneuver and try to keep myself out of trouble.
Winged Nation every Tuesday at noon, exclusively on MRN.com. You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
For being here on The Straight Line, our season opener, the lid lifter, if you will, for the 2016 season. Shout-outs.
Got to shout out to Felix Sabates. Felix is in the hospital. Got about fighting pneumonia again, so hopefully he's recovering. So we'll hope to see Felix back out and going strong here pretty soon, like he does. He's tough.
He is an amazing individual, and I'm sure we'll see him back real soon. Real quick, before we get to the end of the show, a rule change just a couple weeks ago. The ET record will no longer have a points bonus for it. We kind of talked about this a little bit beforehand.
Well, it also won't require a backup.
But it won't require a backup. So it'll be a little bit easier to be able to get, but you're not
doesn't mean as much.
It doesn't mean as much because that 20 points is not there, and I'm not sure either one of us really think too highly of this.
I'm not a fan. I think the national record, I mean, there's plenty of hot dog wrappers that have went through and set the light off. I don't think you want that. So you need that 1% backup. I mean, looking back on it, heck, I would have had the record several more times had they not required backups. But you know what? I think there's a reason for the backup, and I don't think it was a bad thing. I don't think having a backup record was a bad thing, and I don't think having points bonus for setting the record was a bad thing either. I'm kind of disappointed that they let that go.
Yep. A good example, one of the most famous runs in all of motorsports, the run by Tony Schumacher. You don't have the points attached to that, it never happens. So I'm not sure if that's something I'm really in favor of.
I think I like the points. You run that fast, you set the record. That deserves some big recognition.
Thanks for being here with us on The Straight Line. We'll talk to you next week.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts and Hercules Tires. Tune in again next Thursday at noon Eastern on MotorRacingNetwork.com and the MRN app. The Straight Line is also available on demand at the MRN.com Media Center, or you can download it through iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.